Welcome to my office. Glad you're able to be here. Some people call me Judy, some people call me Judith, some people call me Dr. Moore, Dr. Judy, Mom, Grandma. I answer to whatever. I decided it was about time to tell my backstory. I have so many people visiting my office, coming as patients, buying our products, and don't really always know who I am. And so I'd like to let you know a little bit more about myself, and why I'm doing what I'm doing, why I'm a doctor, and why I have these products that I'm very interested in. There was some trauma in my life in my mid-30s, and so I went back to school because I was worried about not being able to support my children if anything happened. I had 6 children by that time, and I was 35 when I entered medical school. I learned an awful lot with medical school and 6 children together. It was a very important part of my life and a huge struggle, but we all made it through and we survived. While I was in medical school, though, as I was going about doing rotations in the hospitals and with doctors' offices, there were a lot of things that I was disturbed about. Number one, often the patients were discounted. Sometimes they were treated more for their disease than for who they were. Their thoughts, their feelings, their need to know weren't necessarily looked at very carefully. There was too little time spent with the patients. And there were many diseases that weren't getting better. And I'm not against medicine. I really, truly believe in medicine. I'm so grateful I went to an excellent medical school and learned so much. And I continue to read the studies and keep up to date and do all the things that are necessary for a physician to do. But I also recognized that there were things that medicine was falling short in. And so when I opened my practice, as I would get in a patient that had some chronic issues, that had been to other doctors, that had had all the tests and that weren't being helped, I would start looking for something that would help them. And I would take a course or study some articles or whatever to try and find out what to do for that patient. And I got more and more into what they used to call alternative medicine, but I called it integrative medicine, being able to use the best of both worlds. When medicine and surgery is important, we would go that route. If that wasn't working or there was something else that I had found worked better, supplements, homeopathy, treating allergies, looking at emotions, all of those things were very important and have been very important in my practice. I had a solo practice for a couple of years after medical school, and then I worked at and taught at the College of Osteopathic Medicine at the Western University of Health Sciences for a couple of years. And then we moved to Utah, and I started working with Dennis Remington, who is a great pioneer in integrative medicine and really opened the door for the rest of us doctors who practice this way to practice here in Utah. That was a great privilege working with him. I had a patient who came in for chronic fatigue. Her name was Marie Osmond, and as she improved and got better and went on with her career and moved to California, she ended up, after having a baby, with severe postpartum depression. and eventually came to see me for that. And after she got better, we wrote a book together to assist people in healing from postpartum depression. And so I started getting more and more patients that had emotional illnesses as well as physical illness. And I realized more and more how important it was. And I wrote another book called Healing from the Heart, which assists in the emotional healing of physical illness. And then I went through a sudden and unexpected divorce, and my mind took me into anxiety. And that anxiety, normally I gain weight when I'm under stress, but I lost weight. I lost 50 pounds. And I thought after losing that weight, oh, my blood work is going to look great. I'm going to be really incredibly healthy. But that weight was lost because of stress. And when I got my blood work done, I found I had diabetes. So I put even more intensive work. I had been treating diabetic patients, but I put more intensive work in studying about diabetes. And because I didn't want to have to go on medication. I had studied the medicines, and even though many of them brought down blood sugar, there wasn't a really good evidence that it reduced the problems and death related to diabetes. And so I started looking into supplements and diet, and then I had this whole slew of supplements that I would have to take, and eventually decided to start my own supplement company and put the things that I had to take into one or two supplements so that I didn't have to take so many, and it was much less expensive. And so I started Spring Tree Health, which is my supplement company. And we have, you want to pan that, on a rainbow of supplements right now that I'm very proud of because they work. We use them on the patients and they make a huge difference. So over time, I gained my weight back, and I thought that would ruin my, well, not all of the weight, but some of the weight back. But my blood sugar still stayed within the normal range. It took me about a year or two to bring it back into the normal range, but now my hemoglobin A1C is normal. And I discovered through genetic testing that I do have genes that cause me to be a little bit overweight. And so as long as I'm healthy, I don't worry about the weight. I went through a period after the divorce of no money. I started mothering 4 grandkids. And in starting this supplement, the supplements were expensive as I would price them out. Most of the places required us to buy 10,000 bottles at a time, and I didn't have that kind of money. Finally, we were able to find a local manufacturer who is very high quality, FDA supervised, good manufacturing, and they allowed us to start out with 250 bottles, which I could afford. And slowly we've been building up. I found that suffering is caused by fear. As I was going through various fears of being alone, fears of not enough money, fears of not being able to take, I think most doctors have a fear that they're not going to do the best by their patients. And every doctor, whether they do integrative medicine or not, most of them are caring doctors and want to do the best, but the situations, the insurance, their teachings, etc., might keep them from being the best doctor. But all these fears would cause suffering. And so as I learned to let go of those fears, I wrote another book called The 5 Laws of Love, and how love can really shift and change our health as well as our emotional state. Because our emotional state and our physical health can't be separated. One affects the other. The physical affects the emotional affects the physical. 8 years ago, at age 60, I opened my own practice here in Midway, Utah, called Diamond Springs Wellness Center, and to support our patients in trying to find the higher quality supplements. We also opened a store called the Diamond Springs Nutrition Store. I do all of these. Number one, I do want to make a little money, so I have some retirement. But number two, mostly to serve my patients and to assist them in utilizing the things that are going to make the biggest difference in their lives. Now, supplements in and of themselves do not heal people. There needs to be lifestyle changes. There needs to be attitude changes. There is a lot looking at the whole person, and many people do need medications for a time or sometimes for the rest of their lives in order to stay healthier. I'm not out to help anyone have the perfect body. I definitely don't have the perfect body. I have a nice little belly, but we can be healthy, and that's what I'm working towards, is assisting myself and others to be as healthy as they can be. I am really excited, even at this age of 68, to continue working with patients and working with people and assisting people into better health. And so I really appreciate you listening to my long story, and I could have made it 2 or 3 hours longer if we'd wanted, but that's enough for today. And be open. We are going to be having some specials in the future, so stay tuned to whatever you're watching here, and we will work on assisting you in having help at maybe a cheaper price.